Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. That's the reality. And unfortunately, most guys, especially guys, from 18 to 30, they flip those two numbers and flip it and do the vice versa. And then they wonder why, nothing ever improves, or they feel like they're stuck in life. And, let me explain what I mean by it. Let me break this down. Two men go through the same storm, right? One collapses, the other one comes out hungrier. He's more dangerous. He's more confident. This storm is the best thing that could have ever happened to him. Why? How can two people go through the same thing, but yet still one person comes out stronger than the other person? And that simply comes down to the fact that one man spent 90% of the time bitching and moaning about the 10% he couldn't control, while the other person, right, the other man spent 90% building himself so that he could never ever be caught lacking again. He could never ever be caught weak again. The reality is that life is going to swing at you all the time, right? Whether it's disappointment, right, heartbreaks, betrayal, right? Anything that you consider bad, life is it's gonna come at you. Life is gonna throw that at you every single time. Nobody on this earth is immune to that. Even the people who are well off. You don't get to choose what kind of punch, whether it's a haymaker, a southpaw, or whether it's an uppercut, right? You just have to decide whether you're gonna stay on the floor or you're gonna stand up. That's really what it comes down to. And at the end of the day, the victims are going to be the one who stay on the floor, right? The real guys are going to be the one who stand up and understand that they control their destiny and they control what happens in their life, right? Like I said, life is 90% of, 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. It's as simple as that. You can't control the economy, right? You can't control who left you or is about to leave you. You can't control most of the things that happen in your life, right? Most of the things let's be honest, you can't really control it. That's a 10%, right? That's a 10%. But your mindset, right? Your discipline, right? Your ability to understand that self-improvement is very, very important. And most importantly, your response to whatever thing you're going through, that's the 90%, right? That's the 90%. That is what separates the guy who's going to collapse and the guy who's going to come out of that storm like just whooping ass. And at one point in my life, I really had to ask myself the question, right? Are you going to let the 10% that you can control, right? Are you going to let that 10% rule you? Are you going to let that 10%, right? Whatever happens in your life, right? Are you going to let that 10% that you cannot control rule 100% of your future? And at that moment, that's when every single guy locks in, because then you get to understand that, the moment you stop behaving like a victim, the moment you stop looking for handouts and behaving like a victim, that's when life stops treating you like one.